It is Starrylock, and this is Starry's Lost and Found as well. I'll be stepping out of the car here shortly. I just wanted to take a look at the chat, and that'll be easier where the wind isn't blowing, and I can easily manipulate the chat window. I do not know if StreamYard has cut off the beginning of the chat. The first person I have is Donna Reed. And obviously that is not the first person because she is greeting Lowell Forbes. I have Lockpicking Energy, Chris Capoon, Rune International, Lowell Forbes, LPG, G Keyman 565, Magnet Fishers Plus, Pocket Woman, and that pretty much brings us current. I didn't read any of the comments. There's a lot of talk between each other, which is great. The Anento Samurai has joined the chat. Of course, if you are not seeing some of the people I am mentioning, you may be on Starry's Lost and Found, and the comment may be on Starrylock or vice versa. Because, sorry about that. Send you flying. Because that's what happens when you send things to multiple channels. Let's get out of this car and start down the alleyways that are normally the venue of trashmen and delivery people. There's not a whole lot of alleyways in this town. Greenfield, which was the previous town I lived in, had more going on in its alleyways, as it actually had businesses that were only accessible in the alleyway. Sassy Explorers is here, and Mayor Video Marlin has joined us. It is not too bad of a morning. It is a little on the chilly side because of the winds, so hopefully you can hear me. Several of these older buildings have been repurposed numerous times, changing hands, changing businesses. And yes, I read your comment, Rune International, about our antiquated energy supply system. But, you know, some things don't get changed while they're working, I guess. When we did the walk through the front side of the downtown, I mentioned Griffin's was looking worse on the backside than it was on the front. Griffin's was an active bar and restaurant when I came up here. It has been closed now for nigh on to a decade, I think. And the backside is pretty much there's the touch. It should tell you how bad things are. They're using an old baby mattress to stuff through a hole. Plenty of no parking enough for his cars. And of course, dumpsters. Like I said, this is the domain of the people who collect the trash. Evil Arch Conservative is here. Yeah, especially on Griffin's. There's a couple earlier, especially on the second floors, because a lot of these buildings are from the 1800s, and so the windows don't tend to be very energy conservative. Obviously, this building managed to get an updated window and fancier than plywood boarded up. Some of the second floors, the first floors will have businesses, and the second floors will have apartments that are for rent. So, right there would be, let me see, this one would be some meeting. This would be the stockbroker's office. And this is, with its facade of shiny brick, the former bank that has become the place that sells items for tourists. Right there is the post office. I guess I could have showed you the back side of the post office. Yeah, it sort of does show you the real town, showing you the backside. This is the backside of the post office. You can see during the weekdays, the trucks will come up from Des Moines, which is about a 3-hour drive, back into those loading docks, and they'll get the mail unloaded. They'll take this side door here and load the various mail trucks to go out for deliveries. And there will also be postal workers who will leave on foot as there are businesses nearby. I don't know if it has a bank vault in it still or not. It has not been a bank for a very long time. It doesn't even look like the second floor is rented. So I don't know. I'm going to see if in mid-July the Wells Fargo Bank here in town is closing down. When that does, I will see if I can get into that building, and because the vault should still be there at that point. And hello, how are you? Has joined us all the way from Japan. I don't know if there's an apartment up there, so I'll try not to capture any personal items, but the oddity of this structure here is because there used to be a building that was leaning against this one, and they had to take that out. And so you end up with this high structure that was there to protect that building from its neighbor. Things are kind of quiet back here. This building here used to be a craft shop of a friend and is now a coffee shop. With notice, entrance for employees only. There's a vacant lot of a building that has long since disappeared. There is the back of our Mexican restaurant. And a whole lot of signs says private parking violators will be towed. Because these backsides are for delivery people and employees. The trash people don't stick around long. They just back up, dump the dumpsters, and leave. So. And this All the second and third floor windows on all the sides are boarded up, so I don't think they rent those out as apartments. This was Wigdall's hardware for decades, and then they retired and it became a bar. It was boarded up area here. They built out as a patio. You'll be able to see it in here shortly. And just after they spent all the money to do this, that's when COVID hit. So thank anyone who showed up on Starry's Lost and Found yesterday for my giveaway. It was a fun time. YouTube tells me I had 31 people concurrently there at one point, so it was. This building here has been everything from a decorator's office to a bakery and is now a restaurant. This is the theater, which I gave you a little bit of the history before, because it used to be owned by a local franchise, Friendly Theaters, and they closed it because it wasn't profitable, and the local pharmacist opened it up again as a locally owned theater. Looks like they've had a few attempts to get into the theater over on this side. I don't know how long ago, but I am not keeping up with the chat. I am sorry. Rune International really has it in for our infrastructure around here. Yeah, we haven't updated in a long time. I think all that's still there from the 40s or 50s, I think. Maybe 60s. Whole lot of cables and transformers. Yeah, you can tell the restaurant used to be a decorating place because it says Robert's Decorating right there on the back door. These are some of the newer buildings. This is an optometrist. And then we get into the Episcopal Church here. And the alleyway kind of just dead ends up ahead. I won't go across the street. I'll just turn back around here. But there's a construction company there. And beyond that is an embroidery place that makes custom shirts. Sobir is here from India. Good morning or evening, I'm not sure. Maybe about 12 hours. Yeah, it means nighttime for you. Morning for me. And early morning for other people. Like Chris, who's 2 hours before me, so it's like 6 in the morning. This is a Methodist church here. The alleyway kind of ends for a block. I'm not sure how that came about, but we had the Methodist church to one side, the theater to my right, and then a handful of businesses. And then there's parking here for the people that rent the second floor as apartments here. I do not know what the building directly across the street was. Originally, it became an antique store long before I moved in. And then the woman who ran that retired and sold it, and it became Mama Nellie's Pizzeria. And I have not been in there. Oh, probably for a year. So I don't know how they're doing business-wise, but they've been open for more than a year, so that's a good sign, I guess. And we return to the alleyways. Yeah, there is definite problem with our infrastructure. All you need is a good storm, and you can see how badly the infrastructure could use an upgrade. This has become a beauty salon. Off to the left, we roll from Mama Nellie's into, you see, it had been, at one time this was part of the Masonic building, and it became a clothing store, women's clothing store, and it is now split between an archery place. They actually have archery ranges set up inside, and they sell supplies and so forth, and the other side is a chiropractor now. So 24-hour video surveillance. Well, you're being surveilled too. And there's the back of the Crown Salon, telling you it is parking for them only. There is the little city park. I've walked through this section before, one of the other walks. And you got to be careful in that park, because a lot of people walk their dogs and don't clean up after them. Andrea Hay says, hi, Starry, and all in chat. There's another little business. They have what was at one point a boat, a way of mooring boats called a shore station. I have that parked here, maybe a mile from the lake. That shore station was originally made in the town I grew up in. It was one of the businesses that a local millionaire in Ida Grove built and made more millions on. So, and this is the old, you see, this here is originally the Brinks office, and this is another salon. We have a lot of salons in this town. No, I'm sorry. This is the Brinks building, and that is a salon, the brick there. And I don't remember what this was originally, but it is now city utilities, the city offices, where the city council meets. Until recently, you would have seen a wrecked garage there that has been turned into someone's private lawn. That has all been various businesses and is now all apartments, I believe, in that building. So, as you can see, we are not in a crime noir. This is not anything exciting being in the back alleyways. That little green building is now a sign store. And what was once a gas station is now Edgewater, which I've mentioned before. This backside, they have worked on the security several times as they have had several break-ins, but it's been incompetent criminals because the local police have caught them each time they have broken in and stolen meat from the restaurant. So that is what I have. I guess it only took 20 minutes. That's kind of disappointing. And we're down from 21 to 14 people, so I guess how boring it was is self-evident, huh? Glad you're keeping yourselves entertained, as I have mostly been ignoring the chat, I'm afraid. If you can afford a P.O. box, that is a way of having an address without worrying about it being too public. And as long as when you register the P.O. box, you tell the post office your channel name, you can use your channel name in the P.O. box. And that's about really as anonymous as you can get and still send things through the mail. I have covered this downtown. I have covered most of the local parks. So next week, I might go to one of the surrounding towns. My roommate has been begging to go somewhere so he can take photos, so I just might take him along and let him loose to take his photos. And I'll take you on a guided tour of a town I really don't know. There are things in surrounding towns that are of interest. 30 miles to the east, we have Algona, which was during World War II the site of a POW camp. They have a museum there. Morning. Ah, there's the wind chimes. I don't know if you can hear that on the video. There's a distinct sound of wind chimes right in this area. So. Yeah, poker chips or customized poker chips are a great additional swag for your channel in addition to stickers that are kind of cool. They're not overly expensive. I think if you hit a sale, you can get them for about 1 for 50 cents, but you got to buy like 150. So there is a little bit of front end expenditure. get across the street. Not like a great deal of traffic. If Jason was here, he'd be complaining about me jaywalking again. Yes, in rural areas, the German prisoners were sent out to help on farms, which was sort of a necessity as many of the farmers were off fighting the war. And as it wasn't used for war production, that means it wasn't a violation of the Geneva Convention. Ooh, it's a little side alleyway here, not much here. This used to be the Napa store. Somebody has bought the building, but I have not seen them do anything with it. Great deal of traffic in my town. Well, St. Patty's weekend to it, that probably doubles the population of the town for a day, and well, for 2 days, and then Ragbri, which some of you will be familiar with. If you're familiar with U.S. bicycling, you'll have heard of Ragbri probably. It is a bicycle trip where several thousand people bicycle across the state of Iowa, and they have different routes each year. And this year comes back through Emmetsburg. So this is the back of Hughes Pharmacy. Hughes Pharmacy is the local business that bought the theater. That alleyway saw some traffic during the height of COVID, as they had drive-through COVID testing out the back door. Don't remember what this little building was. It's now a dentist. And they have their sign there on the corner for the dental loft, and have various messages that they change up every once in a while. There's the front of the post office again. We're almost back to my car. I hope those who chose to stick around have enjoyed themselves. Yeah, there's plenty of parking lot if you know where to look. Now, all of it's available to everyone, but such as this parking lot that's behind the post office is not public parking. It is private parking that is available if you pay for the right to park there. It is never anywhere near fully rented or used. So this section in here is postal employees only. Then when you switch from the concrete to the asphalt, you get into the private parking. And we'll give one more shot of the great American electrical system, just so Rune can get all worked up again. Have fun. Marlon, we'll see you on your live later. There is a link to Marlon's live in my description for this video on the Stories Lost and Found channel. I have not gotten the links to the other lives because they hadn't been posted when I put up the description. And Nick Molnar has joined us. Candid Explorer and Digging with Deej. Oh. And Iron Antlers. All sorts of people showing up a half hour in. I'm afraid I've already completed the walk. And it is much warmer than it was last weekend. And it is not snowing this week. But the wind makes it cold enough that my hands are already turning numb after a half hour out there walking. It is about 17 degrees cooler than that right now here, Dana. It got into the low 70s yesterday. And if I hadn't been stuck inside running a role-playing game for people, I would have been checking out my new metal detector that I got for my birthday. It's supposed to warm up again starting tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a hectic day at work. Tuesday, I have to do about 5 hours worth of driving because one of my housemates has to go get a root canal. And when you get a root canal, you need somebody to drive you back home. And apparently it's a really complicated location. And so we had to go to a bigger city. What detector did I get? They bought me Garrett Ace 400. I had been thinking about and had not told anybody, but there is a place that sells metal detectors about 2 hours south of here, and I thought about making that into a trip down there and visiting a small town seller of metal detectors and buying one there, but they sort of removed the need for me to make that journey. Although I might eventually do that just to try to give their business a little bit of boost if I can at all. Marlon released the link to his video. Pocket Woman is mentioning that she has an entry for Joe and John's 500, a stunning location I found. Check out when you all have time. Cheers. Yeah, I was thinking of something. I was going to just get something much cheaper than what they got. I was just going to get myself a bounty hunter like Nick has, and because always good to buy inexpensive when you start out, because you want to make sure that you enjoy the hobby before you invest too much money. Have a great day yourself, Marlon. I will be seeing you later at your live. Good thing you got the 400. You'll be happier than with a bounty hunter. Well, it's definitely a more expensive and powerful machine. So. Butcher's Block says, howdy, people. So I'm going to, when I start metal detecting, I'm just going to start out at my house, which was built in the 1880s. It was originally built as the servants' quarters for the affluent family, which was about 2 blocks away. Ironically, I rent the house I live in from my boss, so my boss owns the affluent family's home, although they weren't the affluent family at the time. They moved in since. But so those will be videos on Starry's Lost and Found. Lockpicking engineer says the new Mind Lab detectors are very good and cheap. Yeah, I didn't have much choice on what I got. I'm sure I'll get used to it and I'll enjoy what I did get, though. So, and they didn't just get me the detector. It has the Garrett Carrot is and a digger. Oddly, they got the person they bought it from recommended a backpack as a finds bag. So apparently I got to find large objects. Yeah, it is a nice old town, at least back to the 1880s. Back where I found highway, now that I have a detector, I'm going to have to also go back to where I found the old Highway 18 bridge. There's a bit of a video for you if you look through the Starry's Lost and Found library. And you will see that in the area surrounding the skeletal remains of the old Highway 18 bridge are a number of concrete foundations. And I have not made it to the library to find out what those were once, but General Longstreet is here. So I plan on getting out there and seeing what I can find once the flooding, the river's up a bit, and so that area is all low-lying, and it's once the bridge stopped being used, all the buildings that were once there went away and left their foundations. And who knows what else they left, though. Some houses have servants' quarters. Other people are wealthy enough that they build houses for their servants. House I live in is a 2-story Victorian, but nowhere near as, you don't think one of the fancy Victorians, because it was a servants' quarters house. Well, I am going to bid you all adieu. Given the pay scale for servants, yeah, it was pretty much a paid slave. Take care, everyone. Enjoy what is left of your weekend. And have a wonderful upcoming week. And I hope to see you soon.